And we are starting, and I forgot to put, of course, the slide on, because this is what is going to be about today. Again, a warm welcome to all of you who have joined us in this complimentary webinar. This webinar is organized by the Team Coaching Global Alliance, and it had three guest speakers, Karl, Eva, and me. Eva had a surgery, dental surgery, so she needed to recover and she was too swollen and unable to talk. But she sent us her insights, so she will still be here, her knowledge at least is going to be here. So how are we going to spend our time today? We're going to have basically two parts or three parts if we calculate also the Q&A part. We are going at the first part to explore the connection between team coaching and individual coaching. How do they relate? How can one support or lead to the other? We are not going to make a reference to the obvious only, but also some things that are not so obvious. And the second part, we are going to present with clarity the three ACTC paths that will help you find out what is your ideal path to the ACTC certification. Those of you who are already certified, you already have the ACTC certification, it will help you have all the information gathered in one place, and it will make it easier to present or explain also to others. We know that you have questions, so please have your questions ready for the third part of our meeting or our webinar. And in the meantime, we can use the chat to add your comments. You can put funny emojis also, we love them. And we know that we will have a wonderful conversation with you all. Now, who are the speakers? Eva, again, she sent us her insights and her knowledge. She's not with us physically today, and she is a member of the faculty of the Team Coaching Global Alliance. We have Karl, who is also one of the co-founders, together with Jonathan and myself. And me, this is the third webinar in a row that I am doing. So if you notice me messing up my words, it's going to be from maybe some fatigue. And Karl always jump in and correct me or save me or save the audience that we have from me. Okay, so quick reference about who we are. As you saw, that we are all from TCGA. That was founded in 2020 by the three of us, Jonathan, Karl, and myself. When we met, while we were working with the ICF for the development of the ICF team coaching model, in all the phases of the workshops, the brainstorm sessions, the in-depth workshops that we're doing, the feedback also, and the contribution to the ACTC as it is. We have so far completed 4 years of team coaching training with 13 training cohorts, and more of our 60% of our graduates actually hold advanced credentials, either PCC or MCC, and actually a good number of them become MCC after they finish our training, and we will see why that happens. And we have had participants from 39 different countries covering all continents. And of course, we have 100% success in the application, specifically in the exam. And this is a photo of the faculty team that we evolved from a team of 3 to a team of 7. Talking about team coaching and the power of teams, this is another example of the impact that the teamwork can have. And we are proud also because we have established a global pricing policy. That means that it is designed to make it more accessible in the different economies in the different countries. So there is a tier system. Now, we also have supported with education events on team coaching, either organized by others or organized by us, like this webinar today. So let's dive in and let's start with the first topic in our agenda. What is really the connection of team coaching and one-on-one coaching? There are connections that are very obvious, and we are going to see them. And there are other connections that are not immediately obvious, but they become obvious once someone emerges into the world of team coaching and specifically on the team coaching competencies. So the first one, that it is very obvious, Karl?
Yes, Katerina. We were often asked at the beginning of our journey, hey, do these new team coaching competencies, as ICF and you together with ICF developed them, do they actually replace the other ones? We've known for ages the traditional conventional core competencies. First they were 11, then they were 8. And the question we often got, well, now specifically for teams, now that we got these new competencies, do the new ones replace the old ones? Well, the answer to that is no. No, not at all. They do not replace. The key in understanding and working with those competencies lies in integrating them. So on the left hand, you have the series of traditional core competencies as we've always known them. On the right hand, there are the new team coaching sub-competencies or supplementary competencies. And you have 8 of each of them and they work together. So if you want to formulate it in a more mathematical way, you have to master, you have to work with 16 competencies in a total. For each, there is the traditional competency, which has to be integrated like puzzle pieces with the team coaching competency. And that you have to do 8 times because, well, we have 8 of those. So that is a way of looking at it and a way of working at it. While studying more in depth what's in those competencies, you will often see that the team coaching sub-competency often explores and describes more in detail and with a specific focus on teams what is also well written for the conventional competency. So they perfectly work together. That's, I think, the most appropriate way of explaining this. Katerina?
Yeah, thank you, Karl. And here is a good reference from yesterday webinar when Johan, you asked about, oh, what if someone comes and they want to learn team coaching, but they don't know the core competencies. So this graphic, actually, this visual gives the answer to that. It goes like, you cannot build then. How are you going to build? On what? I liked also the word plugin that another coach used to something that is supplementary. So these are on the left, as Karl said, and then you have the supplementary competencies of team coaching. But again, these are building on the core competencies. So you cannot do one if you don't know the answer. You're free to take a copy of that, Johan, and give every time someone makes this question. Now, here is another thing. As we learn the team coaching competencies, we get a deeper reflection on the core competencies. And that makes us become, it in a way, it pushes us to become a better coaches. It's not our goal, it is like a good benefit that we get. So because we are trying to understand more and better in different ways, as Karl is going to show later on, in more points on this, but if you're a visual person, imagine that you have interwind staircases, right? So you have these interwind staircases that they go upwards. And these staircases are interconnected. They are the core competencies, they are the team coaching competencies, and you cannot go up to one if you don't go up to the other also as well. So it invites you to go higher. So here is a fun information that I like to share because I think it is very relevant. I got my PCC after the work we did for the team coaching competencies. And it was a moment of insight for me to say, oh, okay, that's how I now, and it was the click, the shift in my mindset to be in the next session and do the recording and nail the recording. But it was because of me thinking as a team coach that I was able to coach at the MCC level.
I think you confuse MCC with PCC. You said I got my PCC after
Thank
my.
you. I said I'm going to go. Thank you, Karl, for having my back. Yes, it was my MCC, and I remember I said, "Oh, we have also graduates that they get their MCC after they get the ACTCs because of that. Not necessarily in the way that it clicked in my head, but it was in something that was created in their also way of coaching." There is also another thing. There is the intersection with leadership coaching. A few years ago, I was invited to make a presentation at the Leadership and Executive Community of Practice of ICF. And the topic was exactly about that, the intersection between leadership coaching and team coaching. Because another thing that happens is the more we understand teams within the team coaching context, the more we understand the role of the leader. And we show up differently then in our leadership coaching sessions, the one-on-one sessions, I mean. And if you have other insights and other that are just coming to your head after listening to all that, feel free to post this on the chat also. So let's see, what other points do we have here, Karl?
Yes, thank you. This part normally would have been covered by our dear friend and colleague Eva. So, in the way of respecting her work here, I will first briefly walk through some of her notes and then add my own comments on it, so that we have the wisdom of all possible sources here. So number one, using self as an instrument. Well, in one-on-one coaching, the coach, well, our emotions, intuitions, can serve as a valuable data to deepen exploration with the client. Well, that's pretty obvious. Now in team coaching, and this is very interesting, this expands to sensing the collective fields, tuning into group dynamics, unspoken tensions, shifts in energy, and so on. So the instrument that we use, in essence, well, it's the same, but the use of it is expanded and is challenged to a larger field of energy in teams compared with individual coaching. And then there's another one about multiple perspectives. Well, no need to say that when you're working with one client in front of you, already one person is a collection of different viewpoints, a collection of different perspectives, a collection of behaviors, assumptions, and so on. No need to say that when you're working with teams, you have a bringing together of all possible assumptions, behaviors, biases, viewpoints from all the different team members. So the skill that we need here is magnified, as the coach must integrate diverse perspectives, foster dialogue, manage competing narratives within the team, and trying to explore and show curiosity for this kind of messy, honestly, kind of messy collection of a lot of different things, and try to look at all that from a single entity point of view. One often says that team coaching is more complex and complicated than individual coaching. Well, if that would be true, this is certainly one of those areas where we can really sense and feel that. Power and authority, oh yes, that's also a beauty. Huh? In individual coaching, hidden power dynamics often surface in discussions about leadership, influence, and career progression. Well, in team coaching, these dynamics become more explicit. Hierarchies, alliances, unspoken tensions shape interactions, requiring the coach to remain aware of systemic influences. Uh, if I were to summarize this in my own words, you could say that while power, authority, leadership in individual coaching is a much more, I would say, vast and stable thing, in team coaching, and while you are coaching teams, power, authority, leadership, power dynamics change while coaching the team, because dynamics, relations, and coalitions and so on may change during the team coaching, and that's why this is so critical from both perspectives. Then we have some wisdom on balancing challenge and support. In one-on-one involves stretching clients while maintaining psychological safety, helping them reframe their narratives and take risks. In team coaching, this balance is equally crucial, but of course, on group perspective, challenging group norms, addressing conflict, and fostering constructive discomfort while promoting cohesion. Give you an example on that. Well, you will not be often confronted with an individual client having a conflict with themselves and start fighting with themselves. Well, everything is possible, but you would have an individual fighting themselves. In teams, of course, this is a radically different story where tensions, conflicts, discomfort, and so on are actually common sense. They are the norm. Huh? I've never done one single team coaching in the past 15 years without, at a certain moment, rising a certain conflict or a tension. So a specific focus on that and how to support that is necessary. Then we have working with emergence. Well, Eva says here in her beautiful words that individual coaching demands presence and adaptability as clients bring unexpected emotions, insights, or shifts in focus. Well, in team coaching, this ability is critical, absolutely necessary and critical, as group processes are unpredictable, and the coach must hold safe space for what emerges, whatever that may be. That means that being very strong in our own personal presence and adaptability is absolutely key, and I would say more key while working with teams than while working with individuals. By the way, this one has been one for which I went in supervision, because in between the first and the second lockdown, we had a few lockdowns in Europe during COVID, I sensed that my presence was not what it was supposed to be, exactly for that reason, and that's why I took supervision. And then last but not least, systemic awareness. A coach working one-on-one must consider the client's broader context. Yes, of course, culture, pressures, dynamics, etc. In team coaching, this expands to seeing the team as a living system. Honestly, friends, so much books are written about systemic work, systemic coaching. Honestly, there's also a lot of bullshit written on that topic. I'm not saying that we have the one and only wisdom, far from that, but we see teams as living systems, and this is crucial, influenced by and influencing its environment, requiring awareness and interdependencies and patterns. If this is a team, a living system, well, you can coach that as a living system, but do not forget that there's a larger context around that living system. that context is also part of the system in which the team operates. All right, Katerina, I think
Thank
that's
you.
my part here.
Thank you, Karl. And it's also the systems within the team. So there is the systems around the team that, but also within the team that become more complicated because then you have the systems of each one of the individuals. So because by nature, team coaching is systemic, it invites us then to have a different understanding of, even if we're working with an individual client, to see from this systemic perspective. This is just an example. Let me pause the slides here and check with you before we pass on to the second part with the path. You were listening to us, you had your own thoughts, maybe you have some new ideas or something that emerged for you about the connection of these two, or maybe how you have experienced this. I can see the wheels turning in Johan's head.
I'm digging. I'm digging, and there's nothing popping up. I mean, what you just shared with us, it's for me at this moment, it's complete.
Thank you. Thank you. And let me give you a very simple example of the application of how these are connected. And I like the idea of the genome that was given, the DNA there. So when we work with teams, we pay a lot of attention to create a safe space, right? So we spend more time and we approach that differently than what we are taught traditionally to do in one-on-one. But that this creates then the understanding that, oh, actually, while I contract with a client, I can make this question to the client instead of assuming that because it's the two of us, it's in confidential space, immediately it becomes safe. And because I'm not judging the client, right? But no. So it's just make this simple question and take the different models of agreements. We love the Eric Berners from transactional analysis model, but there are other models also. So we take that and then we apply it in one-on-one coaching. How this will create a different quality of conversations. And that's a simple example. Wonderful. Okay. Yes.
If I can add just a personal note,
Yes.
what I've learned over the many years of both individual and team coaching, that is that, and it's a very atypical word to use for a coach, that is that there are moments where team coaching can become very, very messy, where you can get the feeling that you're actually losing it, that certain dynamics are happening within the team, that you are no longer overviewing, that you no longer capturing. And there is another very, very tricky word. Sometimes we may have the feeling that we lose control. Well, there is nothing to control in coaching, but we remain humans. And we can arrive at points where sometimes, whoa, now there are 3 conflicts at the time, simultaneously going on in my team, and a team leader that apparently is running away. Good Lord, this is too much for me. What should I do? Well, you probably should not do a lot. You probably should be a lot. You should stay fully present, fully focused on the process, and keep on trusting the process. If you see a lot of things happening in front of your nose, name them and literally say, dear friends, I must share something with you. We've come to a moment where I, as your coach, do not feel safe anymore, because there's so much going on, and I want to keep on trusting the process. I want to keep on trusting our work together. So please, can you enlighten me? Can you share with me what exactly is going on? I see here three conflicts. Where are they coming from? Now, this is easily said here with you guys, but it can be very much more challenging if you have to stay fully present and use these words while together with the team. And that is something that I had to learn over the years. Thank you.
Yeah. It's either I don't feel safe or I don't feel confident.
Mhm.
Because the other thing is that because it forces us to become comfortable with the unknown in a space of many, it strengthen if courage was a muscle, it will strengthen this muscle of courage. That is much needed also in the one-on-one conversations. So we hope that we shared some light and we provide some useful insights about, oh, thank you, John. Oh, thank you, Johan. Yeah, and yeah, I like work with music. So for those who are watching, Johan's comment is true. I can underline what you said, Karl. I like to work with music and this song supports me. And that's the link of the song. That was a great comment. Thank you from John. Yes. So to the question is like, oh, do I need team coaching training? Well, no, you don't need it. Is it good to have it? Yes, it's good to have it, even if you are just doing one-on-one coaching. That's one way that will help you improve if it is aligned with the improvement you are looking for, of course, because each one of us are setting our own professional goals. Okay, so, well, thank you for the feedback. And Elena is looking forward for the second part of the presentation. Let's move on with the second part, and we will have more time with some more conversation and Q&A. And the second part, it sounds boring, but it isn't. Okay, so the second part is, okay, what are now the paths to apply for the advanced certification in team coaching with the ICF? When the pilot started, ICF had only two options, two paths. Then, for some time, it continued with this, improved from the pilot. Now, there are three paths. So let's break this down. There is the option one, which can be considered also as the portfolio path. There is option two. This is the direct pathway when someone has completed an advanced accreditation in team coaching program. And the second path, the third option, is CPL, credit for prior learning. And this is for long-term team coaching practitioners. So, in summary, the option one, which is the portfolio, the applicants need to complete at least 60 hours of team coaching education. But in the option three, we are going to see how these requirements of the hours are changing. There are eligibility requirements for all paths. The first one is to hold an ICF credential, either an ACC, PCC, or MCC. Here is a table summarizing everything. So, regardless of which option you are going to follow, or your mentees, your supervisees, or someone you know, your colleague is going to follow, they need to have the ICF credential first. Then, the number of hours vary depending on the option. For the long-term team coaching practitioners, there are less hours of training, of education, but there are more hours required on team coaching engagements, the experience, and of team coaching, of supervision, of coaching supervision. For the option two, the path, it has the hours of coaching education and coaching supervision, but the applicant doesn't need to worry about that because these are incorporated in the training. So if you go with the AATC, you don't need to worry about that. Just make sure that you have the 5 team coaching engagements. Okay, let's see what exactly, who is qualified to go with a credit for prior learning. Because, okay, let me go back to this. Why this information matters? Because if we know, if we have this information, and also if we know if we qualify to go with CPL, that will help us choose what kind of team coaching education program we can choose. How many hours it will be, what could be included, also how many hours of supervision we will need if we don't have already the hours. So it is important not only for the moment we are going to apply, but before, well before, when we are going to make a choice of the program we are going to do to gather the requirements. Okay, so who qualifies for credit for prior learning? This seems a little bit complicated because there are some timelines here in the engagements. I think the key is that you need to have at least 10 team coaching engagements completed at the time of the application, and 3 of them must have been completed before 5 years before the date of the application, not started, completed 5 years before. So the first thing that when I have a conversation with someone who says, hey, I'm a long-term coaching practitioner, team coaching practitioner, is that we check that. Do they have that? Yes. Then we can continue the conversation on that path. If the team coaching engagements have happened only in the last 5 years, it no matter if they have 10 or 20, they cannot qualify. Now, credential, we said ACC, PCC, MCC. Oh, Katerina, what happens if I don't have the credential? Well, ICF cannot accept the application from someone who doesn't have the individual credential. And it makes sense because these credentials are proof of the knowledge of the core competencies, right? The ACTC, the Advanced Certification in Team Coaching, is specialty designation. It's not a proof, oh, you're a professional coach, but you have this specialty as a professional coach. So if you already have training that isn't level 1, level 2, or level 3, consider checking if you can apply for one of the credentials, ACC or PCC, with the portfolio option. Find a good mentor that will help you and guide you through that process. Now, education. As we said, there is a difference between option 1, option 2, and option 3. The option 3, the CPL path, only 30 hours. The other, 60 hours. For the first one option is portfolio, so you need to provide the documentation. For the second option, you don't need to provide the documentation because ICF has already approved that program and has already assessed the documentation. So if you go with option 1, the provider will give you not only the certificate of these hours, but also the documentation, the syllabus, the program, whatever is needed. In these documents, you need to make sure that these requirements exist, that these educational hours are aligned with the team coaching competencies, the ICF competencies, but also applied in the team coaching context. So make sure that you check also the syllabus, you check the program, and these requirements are fulfilled. Next one, experience. So someone asking, the most frequent question we get there is like, how many hours? We don't have hours here, like we have in the individual credentials. We have engagements. And then they say, how many sessions? What is the duration about its engagement? Well, there aren't specifications. there is a form that you complete where you have to make a brief description. Okay, say, okay, this was a team development for exam program and including team coaching. Okay, so here are more about this. So you explain, you make a brief description. Okay, this is what happened in the purely hours of team coaching in this program. So you're making sure that, yeah, if I have an engagement and it's not 100% all the engagement team coaching, but it also has some facilitation, some training, something else. Okay, how many hours are in this that are purely team coaching? How can I best describe them and how this can be included in the proposal? There is the form. The form is very simple, actually. So don't worry about this form. Pay attention that if in your engagements there are more than 15 members, you will need to have a co-coach. If you don't have a co-coach, this cannot be included. So make sure. Also, to be fair, if you have more than a certain number of members, you do need a co-coach to make good team coaching. It's impossible to be able to be as present as needed. So another thing is that we said, oh, there are no requirements about the duration or how many hours or how many months, etc., or the format. What is if it is an intensive 2 days program or if it is a 1 year program? But there are not the specifications. Because team coaching doesn't have just one structure, doesn't come in one package. It can come in different packages. And each team coaching practitioner has a different way of giving this service. And sometimes also we adjust based on the case at hand that we have. Okay, thank you, John. Thanks for the clarity of the experience I was about to ask. Yeah. Now, when if you know that you already have some engagements, but you have very strict confidentiality agreements and they cannot give you the team coaching, the 2 letters of confirmation, just include that in your next contract. For example, I can check with my clients and say, okay, I will need that. Is it okay that I will include that in the program? So in the contract, sorry. So be mindful also that you will have to provide 2 letters of verification for 2 of these coaching engagements that you have from your experience. Not for all of your experience, not from all the engagements, just from 2 of them. So check if you already have that, if they can provide it. If not, include that in your next contract. What is needed in the verification letter is very simple. It's very simple. You don't give the identity of the participants, no. So there is still the confidentiality. And it's very simple. It doesn't need also to have the information of what is it that you were working about. No, that still remains confidential. Coaching supervision. We were so grateful that it was included. We're so happy. We were also very clear, the experts, that no, actually, team coaching requires supervision. And to be honest, I believe this is another reason why we become better coaches, because we are required to take supervision in team coaching, while it is not required to take supervision in individual coaching, at least for ICF. EMCC has that requirement, but ICF doesn't have it yet. Now, again, there is some flexibility here. The coaching supervision hours can either be one-on-one or can be in a group setting. It doesn't matter. You can also talk during your supervision about other aspects of your coaching practice, about one client, about a group, but still you must include the focus on team coaching practice. So it doesn't need to be only about your team coaching engagements and cases. It can include other aspects, but don't lose focus of that. One thing that you want also to pay attention is who can be your supervisor. As you gather the hours, if you go with the portfolio option, either of option 1 or option 3, it is important to see, oh, is my supervisor eligible by the ICF? Because you will have to provide this information. And here you have this information of who is a supervisor that meets these eligibility requirements or criteria. So they need to actually hold either a certification or accreditation or have received the education or specific hours plus experience. So be sure to ask them. It's not impolite, it's not rude. It's actually very responsible to do that and good practice to always ask about this. And now you have one more reason. Exam. Okay, I know that a good number of coaches struggle and suffer with the exam for the ACTC, PCC, MCC, the knowledge assessment. I'm happy to say that in many ways, this is not the case for the ACTC. I don't know why. I cannot tell you why. Maybe because they seem more clear. But I am neurodivergent, and I know from the neurodivergent community that the experience of the knowledge assessment of ICF can be also traumatic. I don't have yet enough input to give you about the ACTC, but I can tell you that it is so far the feedback we have from anyone and our experience that it is smooth. And we can always give you some tips if you want for your preparation. So there is a 2.5 hours, there is a break. You can also remember that you can also request accommodations, right? So contact ICF if you need accommodations. You can always request these accommodations. Don't hesitate to do that. And there are 4 sections. The sections 1 and 3, half of the sections, there are multiple choice questions that are only about the knowledge of topics, right? They're very, very clear. Then the other sections 2 and 4, these contain scenario-based questions that are testing the judgment and the decision making in real team coaching situations. So another tip in your team coaching education is to make sure that you also do some cases. You are exploring this. It's a good practice that starts get you into this mentality. And in the website of ICF, you can find some sample questions to see also the level of difficulty or how actually they can look like. Now, before we go to our announcement, or maybe let's do the announcement now so that we have freer time for many other questions or conversation. Our next Team Coaching Global Certificate starts in a little bit than 3 weeks, in March 18. Eleni, who is here, is one of our graduates of our program, the foundation, I believe it was Eleni. I might be wrong. I don't, like, my mind still is blurred. So we have more opportunities for those who want to either to do their education for the option 1 or 3 of the ICF, or to do the option 1, the straightforward path. And those who want also to experience coaching supervision, every month there is the opportunity to participate in groups. There are groups of 3 or 5 with Eva and Jillian. Both are very experienced and amazing supervisors. And it's something also that it is, we have made sure that it accommodates all time zones, because if you go on the website, Karl, you can put in the website on the chat. If you go on the website and you check, you will see that there are different times that in the options to cover all time zones and give the opportunity for everyone to participate in coaching supervision. It's an easy way also, if you haven't experienced before, to experience coaching supervision and tick one of the boxes of the requirements. Every month, we send one team coaching tip. We make sure that the team coaching tips that we send are useful, practical, applicable in cases and situations that any team coach either has already met in their practice or are going to meet in the practice. So if you would like to receive these tips, you can be the first to receive these tips, you can sign up to our newsletter. If you want to get in touch with us, these are information, our emails, and where you can find us online. Okay, so now we have time to see if there are more questions or comments. Either from the first part or the second part, something that is still not clear, something that you would like more input, or a question you have about something else. So, and it can be Johan. I was thinking even a question from yesterday that remained unanswered. Yes, Eleni.
Yeah, I was wondering if I have 𝗵𝗍𝗍 credentials now. I am the practitioner level, and I was wondering if ICF somehow acknowledged that, or I should follow one of the first steps of credentialization on ICF.
Okay, I have one good news for you and one bad news for you. Let's start with the bad news. The bad news is that although 𝗵𝗍𝗍 acknowledges and accepts the ICF credentials, the opposite is not happening. But you can use all the training that you have done, that it was 𝗵𝗍𝗍 standards, to apply for an ICF credential with a portfolio.
So, okay. So I should prepare something like a portfolio, and
for the individual credentials. Now we're talking about the individual credentials.
Yeah, the individual.
Yeah, you can go for ACC or PCC with a portfolio. So this is why I say the only thing you need is to, if you take this path, know that it's going to take longer to be assessed. There is some mentoring that needs to take place. So find a good mentor to prepare you for that. This is possible. Unfortunately, it's not that straightforward as it is from the other way around.
Yeah.
These are the bad news. The good news is that you can use, for example, in your case, you can use the team coaching training that you have already received with all the documentation and apply for the 𝗵𝗍𝗍 accreditation in team coaching.
Okay, nice.
So that is possible, that you can use it to get the team coaching accreditation by the 𝗵𝗍𝗍. You're just going again to go through the process and submit the necessary documentation.
Okay, thanks.
I want to ask something. I'm in beginning of in my journey, like I am doing peer coaching, etc. And when will I need this team coaching? Like in what part of my career, in my coaching career, I need this team coaching?
When do you plan to start working with teams?
Kind of, I will get this PCC this year, so it might give possibility to work with teams, but I don't know when I will start, but it will have more possibility.
Yeah, the good thing with you can start the training. So there are two things here. One is when you can start the training for team coaching, and the other is when you can apply for the ACTC. The training for team coaching, you can start it once you have completed the training for the core competencies. If you have completed the training for the core competencies, you can start the training for team coaching. That's my recommendation. Maybe others accept it earlier. Our recommendation and our policy at 𝗍𝗂𝗍 is that you have to first complete the core competencies training, and then you can start.
𝗀𝗃𝗻, if I understood that your question also was on a deeper level. I mean, what do I need a team certificate for? Was that also part of your question or not?
Yeah, kind of. I was thinking that the PCC was enough to coaching teams, but
let me reflect on that, because there's no one straight answer. When I became an MCC in 2019, some of my clients said, "Oh, Karl, so the P has become an M now. Yeah, is that some kind of strange stuff from ICF again?" Yes, it is. Ah, okay. But you still do what you do. Yes, I still do what I do. Ah, okay. Then we're good. All right. So just to offer you some perspective on how relative things can be. Now, my advice to you, 𝗀𝗃𝗻, is investing in a credential is something that you do, first of all, on the long term, and secondly, for personal choices, because you find it valuable to do it yourself. 20 years ago, no one knew ACC, PCC, MCC. Now, in most companies, whether you apply as external coach or as internal coach, it is a requirement, whether it comes from ICF or from EMCC, but most companies expect a very solid credential. Is that the same at this moment with the ACTC? No, because half of the world is not actively knowing that it already exists. But I'm pretty sure that 5 years from here or so, when it becomes clear that the way companies invest in their teams directly contribute to the company results, and that is something that one is starting to feel already right now. By that moment, the ACTC will become probably more important and more in demand, as it may be the case at this moment. But it is above all a personal choice.
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah, and hopefully with the information we gave today, some other ways to see the team coaching training, that will give you more information to make that choice for yourself. Johan, I thought you wanted to ask something or to say something to add.
No, not particular. I just enjoyed. Good to see you on this Friday afternoon, all of you.
Good to see you too. So here's the other thing, and I don't know the experience of those of you who have already done team coaching before doing the team coaching training or taking the ACTC. The feedback we keep having from long-term coaching practitioners is that, oh, it changes the way I'm working with teams now. Or I can understand better now how to approach X, Z, Y. Or I have a different, this is more clear in my head, or I have more tools, or whatever. So we get frequently that feedback. And Eleni, you were one of the persons who have already the experience of working with teams.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't understand if you wanted my feedback, but yeah, it was quite useful for me because while I was attending your course, I had I was finishing one team coaching and I was in the middle of another team coaching engagement, so it kind of helped me a lot. It gave me I would say that it filled pieces here and there that I didn't know what was going on. So it was very helpful. Actually, I was able to use my experience and the course knowledge and the to take all this into the supervision sessions, and it was a full experience for me. I really enjoyed it and learned a lot. And actually, I don't think I have said it, but I wish you would offer something more advanced. It was a great experience, honestly.
Yeah,
a lot of knowledge, questions, and the reflection process that that was going on inside the course was very useful as well.
Yeah, that applies for any actually program, and not just our program. It's like anything. It's like, wow, we can coach without any. It's not regulation. You can coach without any training. How it changes once you got the training. Well, it's time to close this session. Well, thank you very much, all of you, for being with us today. Thank you for being with us with your physical presence, with your input, with your questions, and your wonderful energy. From Karl and myself, and I know Eva also, wish you a lovely rest of the day and a wonderful weekend ahead. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.